Hey, so we all know the story of Noah's Ark and the Great Flood, right? But have you ever stopped to think about what happened the day after the rain stopped? I mean, picture it. Inside that ark, floating on a completely silent world, you have Noah, his family, and all the animals just waiting. This is the story of what came next, humanity's second chance.
I mean, really think about that question. You're in that ark. You've survived the end of literally everything you've ever known. The entire world has been wiped clean. So, what does day one of a brand new world actually look like? Well, let's dive in and find out. The first part of this new chapter isn't some big dramatic moment where they throw open the doors. It's actually the opposite. It's a long, slow, and probably frustrating process of just waiting for all that water to go away. We're not talking about a bathtub draining here. This is a global event, and for the people inside that ark, it must have felt like forever. And when you look at the timeline, the amount of time we're talking about is just wow. It takes 150 days, that's 5 whole months, before the water even starts to go down. Then, in the 7th month, the ark finally scrapes against solid ground on the mountains of Ararat. But they're still not out. It's not until the 10th month that they can even see the tops of other mountains. All in all, they were in that ark for over a year before the ground was truly dry. That's an incredible test of patience.
So, for 40 days after seeing those mountaintops, Noah finally makes a move. He cracks open a window and sends out a raven. Now, this was a pretty smart choice. Ravens are tough scavengers. They can survive on almost anything. The raven flew back and forth, but because it's so resilient, it didn't really bring back the specific news Noah needed to hear, which was, is it safe for everyone to come out?
So, Noah tries a different strategy. He sends out a dove. And unlike the hardy raven, a dove needs a place to land, somewhere to perch. When it comes back to the ark, the message is loud and clear. There's nothing out there but water. The world still isn't ready. Not yet.
Noah waits another full week. He sends the dove out again. And this time, this is the moment, the turning point. The dove comes back in the evening, and in its beak is a freshly picked olive leaf. This is huge. It means not only is there dry land, but a tree has survived and is already growing new life. This is the first real, tangible sign of hope in this new world. So, after one more week of waiting, Noah sends the dove out for a final time. And this time, it doesn't come back. And you know what? That silence was the best news he could have possibly gotten. It meant the dove had found a home, and it found food, the world was alive again. It was finally time to begin. So with God's official okay, Noah opens the great door, and he and his family step out of the ark. Just try to imagine that moment, that first breath of fresh, clean air after a year, the feeling of solid, stable ground under your feet, seeing a huge, open sky that isn't pouring down rain. They emerge with all the animals into a world that's been washed completely clean, a total blank slate. And here's the really mind-blowing part. The entire human race, the whole shebang, starts all over again from just 8 people. You've got Noah and his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. According to this story, every single person on Earth today traces their lineage back to this one small family. So what's the very first thing Noah does in this new world? You might think he'd build a shelter, or maybe plant a garden, right? Nope. The first thing he does is build an altar. His very first action is an act of worship, of gratitude. He takes some of the clean animals, the ones he'd been told to bring on board in sets of 7, and makes a burnt offering to God. And this one act of worship triggers a massive, profound promise from God. The scripture says the aroma was pleasing, and God makes this internal resolution: I'm never going to curse the ground like that again because of people. This is a huge shift, a move away from total judgment and toward a new kind of enduring grace. Now, this private, internal promise is about to go public. It's going to be made official, formalized into what's called a covenant. Think of it like a sacred binding agreement that's going to define the relationship between God, humanity, and the entire planet from this moment forward. And with this new covenant comes some new ground rules. The original instruction to be fruitful and multiply is repeated, but now there are some big changes. For the first time, people are explicitly given permission to eat meat, but it comes with a couple of really important conditions. You can't eat meat that still has its lifeblood in it.
and the sanctity of human life is absolute. Murder will always demand justice.
So let's just pause for a second on this word, covenant. What exactly is it? Well, it's way more than just a simple promise. It's a solemn, unbreakable contract. And what's really amazing about this particular one is its scope. This promise isn't just with Noah's family. It's with all their descendants forever, and, get this, with every living creature on Earth. Of course, every great agreement needs a sign, right? A physical reminder of the promise that was made. And for this one, God chooses something spectacular, something that only shows up right after a storm has passed: the rainbow. And here's a fascinating detail you might have missed. The text says the rainbow isn't just for us to see, it's also there to remind God of this everlasting promise. This idea completely transforms a natural weather phenomenon. What some ancient cultures saw as a weapon, like a warrior's bow in the sky, is turned into this powerful, beautiful symbol of peace. Okay, so everything's looking pretty good, right? A fresh start, a divine promise. It feels like a perfect ending. But the story isn't a fairy tale. The world might be new, but human nature? Well, that hasn't changed. And the very first family in this new world is about to have its first major conflict.
So Noah gets back to work. He becomes a farmer, a man of the soil, and he plants the very first vineyard in this new world. You know, this act of cultivating the earth seems like such a positive step forward, but ironically, it leads directly to the first big family blow-up.
Here's the play-by-play. Noah drinks some of the wine he made, gets drunk, and passes out naked in his tent. His son Ham walks in and sees him like this. Now, instead of quietly handling the situation, he goes outside and basically gossips about it to his two brothers. Shem and Japheth, though, they have a totally different reaction. They grab a garment, walk in backwards so they don't see their father's shame, and respectfully cover him up.
When Noah wakes up and figures out what happened, his reaction is swift and severe. The actions of his sons lead to two wildly different fates. For Ham, who showed him disrespect, there's a curse. But for Shem and Japheth, who showed him honor, there's a blessing.
But here's the really crucial and kind of strange part. Noah doesn't curse Ham directly. He curses Ham's son, Canaan. And this curse, that he will be the lowest of slaves to his brothers, is presented in the narrative as setting the stage for the entire future relationship between the descendants of Shem, the Israelites, and the descendants of Canaan, the Canaanites. After all this drama, the story tells us Noah lived for another 350 years. He dies at the incredible age of 950, having seen the absolute end of one world and the very complicated, very messy, but also hopeful beginning of the next one.
And that's where we're left. From a global catastrophe down to a moment of family drama inside a tent, this story really sets a course for everything that comes after. It leaves you with this big question: how much of history, how much conflict and destiny can really be traced back to these small, personal moments of honor and shame between a father and his sons?